What's up? It's Alexander Madison, running back from the Minnesota Vikings, and you're watching Clock Management.
Hey guys, thanks for joining us. It's September 24th, 2019. I'm Justin, and as always, I'm with Perry.
I'm not sick. You're sick.
As you guys can tell, Perry is slowly dying.
Very slowly, apparently.
Make sure you guys catch our podcasts on YouTube, Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, basically anywhere where you can find a podcast. Also, you could keep up with us on our social media. We got Management Clock at Twitter. We got Clock Management on Facebook and Clock Management on Instagram. So go join all of us.
Yeah, check us out. We're here for you.
And feel free to reach out to us on any of those. Game day, we'll give you game day advice on who you should start and sit. So
yeah, Sunday mornings on Twitter, reach out, start sit questions, that sort of thing. Yeah, it's really fun. I enjoy discussing those back and forth and coming up with an answer for you guys. So today, though, we got an episode. It's our Tuesday episode. It is Tuesday, right, Justin?
Last I checked, yeah.
All right, all day, I'm pretty sure. So today we're going to cover some news just like we always do. We're going to go over some news nobody cares about. Then we're going to jump into some of the matchups that we just watched last week, some takeaways that we have from each of those matchups. We'll do a start of the week, and I think we'll round it off right there. If you're interested in jumping to anything, there'll be timestamps below. Just go ahead and check it out. Right next to that is a subscribe button. You should hit that subscribe button because you get a chance to win a signed Tyreek Hill jersey.
That's true. I've already subscribed on 2 random accounts that I created just to try and win that. So
yeah, Justin, you're not eligible to win.
Damn. Okay, maybe next time.
Yeah. All right.
All right. But yeah, so as we mentioned, Perry's dying. So he's sick. I know you got that going on. Outside of that, is there anything else going on over there?
No, I'm house sitting for my in-laws. You'll notice the painting in the background.
Yes.
Yeah, everybody's favorite. So I'm in their office doing some recording. Other than that, though, not a whole lot going on. What about you? I know you've been busy at work.
Yeah, it's been wild. I'm enjoying your sweet cheese shirt. I was wondering, is it made of cheese or
no? It's the Tillamook sailboat.
Yeah. Yeah, I just didn't know if they made it out of cheese.
No, I've actually seen this sailboat in person at the Tillamook factory where I bought this shirt. Yes, nice. I like cheese that much that I went to the factory that it's made and bought cheese there.
I'm actually getting surgery on my ankle on Friday, so I'll be on painkillers during that episode. That should be interesting.
Interesting. Ooh.
Yeah. I should have some hot takes there.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, so that's what's new with me. Also, I will be going by the Crossed Arrows Brewery before I drive up north to meet with producer Sean on Friday. So I'll drop some beer off for you and Sean up there.
Perfect. I love beer.
Yeah, and you guys can go check out Crossed Arrows Brewery at crossedarrowsbrewery.com or on Facebook and get yourself some. I highly recommend it.
All right.
Perry, you want to get us into some news?
Yes, I do. I'm going to talk about some news that just dropped just maybe about an hour ago. And that was that tight end Nick Vannett was traded to the Steelers from the Seahawks. Basically, this is a tail on to the fact that Vance McDonald is dealing with an injury. He was spotted in a sling, so obviously it's an issue with his shoulder. I don't see him playing on week 4 now that they've went out and traded for Nick Vannett.
Yeah, they got no reason to do that now.
Yeah, I know you and I are both high on Vance McDonald going into the season. and it's been the classic tight end type of season from him, where nothing amazing or nothing amazing nothing. So if you had Vance McDonald, I wouldn't go out and get Nick Vanette. I have a different name for you that I'll bring up later that I would recommend go getting instead.
Yeah.
Next piece of news here: David Njoku is avoiding surgery on his wrist. That's a good thing. That means that we're probably going to get him back sometime this season, although he hasn't been all that productive. He hasn't been terrible, but not super productive. He does have a chance now to return week 12 at the earliest, as he is on IR, but that does mean he will be coming back probably towards the end of the season. But we'll have to see how that plays out. And then Alshon Jeffrey was a full participant in practice today. It's great news, obviously, for my bet with Justin, which isn't looking so good with the day that Cooper Kupp had
a touchdown machine.
Yeah, that's okay though. I have Cooper Kupp on my team. It's worth it. I got to beat my brother in fantasy with Cooper Kupp. It was a sweet day. But with Alshon coming back, I think the only thing that's to note is that Nelson Aguilar, his production will probably take a step back. It seems to just be the way that works. When Alshon misses time, Nelson's very good. So if you're banking on Nelson Aguilar right now, I think you should be cautious, have a backup plan. But yeah, anyways, let's move on here to Cam Newton. Cam Newton is dealing with a Liz Frank injury, which is a pretty serious injury. I'm very concerned about Cam Newton's health going forward.
Very different than Anne Frank.
Very different than Anne Frank.
Yeah, I recently learned that.
Yeah. I fully believe that Cam Newton is just a drop at this point. If you have Cam Newton on your team, you are not holding on to him for any reason, unless it's a deep super flex or 2-quarterback league. That is the only reason to stash Cam Newton right now.
We tried to tell you guys before the start of the season, he has a risk injury. If you drafted him, we still love you. Just go ahead and drop him now. The time has come.
Yep. I just to give you an idea, there's a chance that he doesn't play again this season. So I do really like Kyle Allen, his replacement. You and I picked him up in the league that we co-manage, and he had a great week. Picked him up and started him over Mitchell Trubisky. Great. Yeah. I'm going to do that again this week, by the way.
Yep.
And then last piece of news here is that CJ Anderson was working out for the Texans. This is a little surprising to me. Maybe he's working out for multiple teams, but I fully expected to see a report that he was going to be working out for the Giants. I thought for sure that they might reach out and try and grab somebody like CJ Anderson with the Saquon injury. So, yeah.
Did the team ask him to, or did he just do it?
He just showed up and started working out front of their building. I don't think so. But I don't see why the Texans really need him, right? They've got Carlos Hyde, who's doing just fine. They've got Duke Johnson, who's doing just fine. Yeah. Maybe they're just looking for depth is all that they're doing. But
yeah, I agree with you. It seems weird, especially with like you said, the Giants losing Saquon, and getting into that real quick, not to jump ahead of you, but with Gallman there, he is not
we can talk about Gallman.
That.
Yeah, we can talk about Gallman right now because he's the hot topic right now of the week and of waiver, and I'm not buying in. I don't know how you feel. We haven't even discussed it yet, but I am not buying in. I think if you need a start this week, all right, you could probably throw Gallman in there, but if you're expecting Saquon numbers, you're totally going to be disappointed.
Right.
The reason Saquon does so well is because of how good he is. The situation is
horrible.
Even with Daniel Jones being seemingly an upgrade one game in, it's still a horrible situation, and you're getting an inferior older back. So,
who is one of the most inefficient running backs in the NFL? Gallman has had opportunities to play before. It's not like he's an unknown quantity. We're like, ooh, like a Daniel Jones where I talked about this could be good. I want to see what happens with it. Gallman, we know exactly what we're getting, and it's not good. He started on the Giants when they had Odell Beckham Jr. there, when they had other options which could open up the running game a little bit more, and he was horrible. Now they don't have that. Don't start him.
Yeah, I think, if you're in a deep league and you lost Saquon and your next best option is Peyton Barber, right? I could entertain the possibility of starting Wayne Gallman, but I'm only entertaining the value of starting him over Peyton Barber.
And I will agree with you only because Peyton Barber's going against the Rams defense and Gallman's going against the second worst team in the NFL.
I think my whole point with it, or the only reason I'd entertain it is because a rushing touchdown is I think there's a 50-50 chance he walks out of the game with a rushing touchdown.
Yep.
So there you go. There's my take on it. A lot of people are blowing number one waiver priorities or putting in a huge fab bid on him. And I think you're making a mistake.
Don't do any of that. I'm a follow up on this. Sorry to just blow up the news, but also news related to the Giants team again. You talked about, Daniel Jones came in and was seemingly an upgrade for the team. He looked really good. I think that helps the overall team as a whole. If you're hurting for a wide receiver, I think that you got some options there. Golden Tate comes back in 2 weeks. I could see putting in a waiver for him.
Sure. Yeah. And Sterling Shepard had a pretty good game as well. The Sterling Shepard show.
Yeah.
I feel like it's been going on for a few years and it feels weird to me. I'm just, with the whole Giants offense, it's been one game and I just don't want to jump on the Daniel Jones is the next messiah of football bandwagon just yet. So,
no.
Yeah. But, in a deep league, you're definitely right. I feel like Golden Tate, if he's sitting around on a waiver wire and you're in a 12, 14 team league, something like that, throw him on your bench, see what you got in a few weeks. So that's all. I mean, obviously that news, I don't know if that's news. We just got into talking already, but let's jump into the news nobody cares about, Justin.
Yes. All right. So I got some news no one cares about. What kind of day would it be, Perry, if we didn't talk about Antonio Brown?
It would be a day that doesn't end in Y.
It should be hopefully next week, but it's not this week. I got two things. Antonio Brown. First, some teams said that they were interested. Well, his agent reported some teams were interested in him. Yeah. He then almost immediately tweeted out that he is done with the NFL. Yeah. And shortly thereafter, he re-enrolled in college. So what do you think? Antonio Brown going to be the number one wide receiver in college?
I'm pretty sure he has no eligibility left.
Oh, man.
Is this con college? Because he's going to prison for rape.
He might be able to flee the country and play in another country's college.
I don't care what Antonio Brown's doing.
And that's why it's news no one cares about. Next piece of news no one cares about. George Kittle out there living his best life. First, after the end of the game, did you see his little impression of The Rock?
I did not.
Oh, he did the whole, do you smell what the Niners are cooking?
Nice.
And then just right before we recorded this show, he was on WWE just in the crowd, and two of the wrestlers came over to him and he's just hyping them up and stuff. It was pretty awesome.
Nice.
And the last piece of news no one cares about, Pete Carroll takes a football to the face right before the start of the game.
I saw that, and he had to get stitches.
Yeah, he had to get stitches on his face.
Yeah.
Oh,
Pete Carroll, man. He's the oldest coach in the NFL.
I know, and he's still running out there at the dudes. I love his energy for being such an older coach.
Yeah, he kills it, man. He's the definition of a player's coach.
Yeah. But yeah, that's all the news no one cares about. So let's get into these matchups.
Yeah, let's talk about it. So we've already talked briefly about the Thursday night game, so we're not going to get back into that. We talked about that in the last episode. Go ahead and check it out. We'll start with the Cowboys and the Dolphins. This game went the way we thought it would, outcome-wise. I will say that on the Cowboys side of the ball, Tony Pollard had a day, right? You and I both had totally written him off as fantasy irrelevant going forward. But here's the thing. I still think he's fantasy irrelevant going forward because he's not playing the Dolphins every week. The Cowboys just paid Zeke. Why risk him in a game that's was a blowout from the beginning?
Yeah, but they do play Washington twice.
That's true. Fine. Justin, if you want to stash Tony Pollard, go for it.
The only way I'm stashing him is if it's in a 10 to 12 man league and I also own Zeke.
Exactly. If you own Zeke, own Tony. That's how I feel. So again, with these waivers this week, a lot of people are putting a lot of hype on Tony Pollard. I am not putting that hype on Tony Pollard.
No.
Amari Cooper, 2-touchdown day. Amari Cooper looks fantastic.
Amari and Dak seem to they got a connection. That's going to be awesome. Just you own them, ride that all season.
Yeah, Amari finally looks like the wide receiver that we were waiting for so long in Oakland.
Yeah, the guy who is drafted to be.
Yeah, I'm excited for Amari. I've always liked him. I've always thought he was a great talent, and it looks like we finally have it here. On the Dolphins side of the ball, I don't want any player. Yeah, don't want any player. They don't even know who their quarterback is at this point. So, avoid.
Yeah.
The Bengals and the Bills. This one ended with the Bills 21-17. Justin, why don't you go into this one for a moment? I gotta take a drink of water.
No problem. So we were talking about our starts of the week last week, or on our last episode. I went with Frank Gore. As we're trying to go a little bit deeper for you guys, someone that might be unknown you could start, and it paid off. Frank Gore, he did just fine. He got into the end zone, which is always important for a running back. He had 14 carries for 76 yards. That's great. He had 2 receptions for 13 yards. So in PPR, he helped you out a little bit there.
And we were joking last episode too. Do you really want Frank Gore catching the ball? Well, there you go. I put my foot in my mouth. Frank Gore's out there catching the ball, everybody.
Yeah, but you know who else was out there catching the ball?
Tell me.
TJ Yeldon. He got me. 2 receptions for 19 yards. He also got on the field for 8 carries and 30 yards.
Ooh, man.
I know. Just stay off the field, TJ. Do us all a favor.
What about the Bengals side of the ball?
The Bengals, for the wide receiver portion though, John Brown, he had an okay game, 4 receptions for 50 yards. There were a few other receivers there. The only ones worth mentioning, Cole Beasley had 8 receptions for 48 yards. Neither one of them found the end zone. Those are the only 2 with any fantasy relevance. John Brown is owned in your league by now. We highly recommended picking him up a few episodes ago. If he is not owned, go get him. Cole Beasley, I'm still not touching unless I'm in probably a 12-man league.
Yeah. We should mention the tight end, Dawson Knox, had a really good game. 3 receptions for 67 yards and a touchdown. Yeah. Possible option if you're trying to replace Vance McDonald, depending on how deep your league is. There might be some better ones out there, though.
Yeah, I'm guessing there is. I don't think you can depend on that week in, week out. Tight ends, volatile position where you get lots of tight ends who will be the number 1 tight end for a week.
Yeah.
On the Bengals side, Joe Mixon had 15 carries for 61 yards. Not that great of a day.
The Bills' defense is much better than it appears. It's a good defense, and he did have a
receiving touchdown though. So
yeah, I'm encouraged by this stat line from Joe Mixon because we weren't getting what we expected out of him, and Giovanni Bernard was getting a lot more work than what he did in this game until this game.
Yes, so, that's promising. John Ross returned back to reality.
Yeah, he did. Other than that, not a lot to talk about. I mean, Tyler Boyd had a decent night. no touchdowns. But that Bills defense, man, it's just one of those defenses that you're just going to have to learn to expect less from your offensive players. So,
Man, going forward next week with the Bills, I'm not really messing with many of their players. They play New England, and New England has yet to give up an offensive touchdown.
yeah. Let's jump into the next matchup, which was a very good game. I think you and I even said this would probably be a pretty good game, and that was the Lions versus the Eagles. The Lions won this game, though, 27-24, which I did not see coming. We'll start on the Lions side of the ball. Matthew Stafford had a very, average night with 200 yards and a touchdown. J.D. McKissick had the most rushing yards, but it was on one carry, so don't read into it too much. I think the thing that I like here is that Kerryon Johnson had 20 carries.
Yeah, but the part I don't like.
Yeah, it's 36 yards. He did get into the end zone, which saved his night, but that is one of the most inefficient running stat lines I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, those are Wayne Gallman numbers.
Yeah, no kidding. Receiving here, Marvin Jones finally returned to the Marvin Jones
I've been wondering where this has been. Like Danny Amendola been outperforming him, which I don't think any of us saw coming. I don't think anyone saw coming before the season started.
Yeah, Marvin Jones with 6 receptions, 101 yards and a touchdown. That's a fantastic day for Marvin Jones. I like Marvin Jones. I think he's a very good talent. He should be owned. I don't know if he should be started just yet, but let's hope that we continue to see something like that.
Man, I might start him next week. I might try and hop in on it early. Hope that I get something out of it. But that's I like him too, obviously.
Yeah, and if you do start him, I don't fault you for that, right? Like, it's Marvin Jones. It's not like this isn't like the first time we've ever seen Marvin Jones perform, right? So just the first time this season is all. So let's move on to the Eagles here. Carson Wentz, 259 yards and 2 touchdowns. You're happy about that. Miles Sanders is the best running back on this team without a doubt. He's slowly getting more and more work. I think the thing that I'm really happy to see here was that he had 2 receptions for 73 yards on top of the 13 carries for 53 yards. A touchdown would have been great.
Yeah, Jordan Howard vultured the touchdown.
Yes, which is what we expected out of Jordan Howard, which is why Jordan Howard in a deep league is a possible flex start, because you're hoping for that touchdown vulture.
I like that the Darren Sproles isn't getting as many carries as he was at the beginning of the season. That's great. He didn't even have a reception. That's kind of odd to me, though.
Yeah, that's weird for Darren Sproles. And then we already spoke about Nelson Aguilar. He did have the 2 touchdowns this week, which saved his week. 8 receptions for 50 yards. He did have 12 targets, which is great. But when Alshon comes back, I expect those numbers to take a step back a little bit. Just be prepared for that.
Yeah, so the next game we had the Patriots and the Jets, and the Jets really falked up.
They falked up. Nice.
Yeah, so they started Luke Falk as their quarterback with their primary quarterback having mono, Sam Darnold.
And their backup quarterback's ankle exploding.
Yeah, on live television.
Yeah.
He did not play well. 12 for 22, less than 100 yards, just barely, 0 touchdowns and an interception. Not great. Yeah. But on the other side, with Le'Veon, you had 18 carries for 35 yards. Also not great. It's good to see him still out there being the bell cow back. Like I said, the Patriots have a great defense this year. So they weren't giving up yards or touchdowns.
Yeah.
There were none to be had.
Nobody was fantasy happy in this game for the Jets.
Yeah.
Patriots side of the ball, a little bit different story, sort of. You're happy if you had Tom Brady. It looks like Tom Brady's back to being an elite quarterback, man.
No.
Are you bought in? Are you bought in?
You got to be at this point.
Yeah, 306 yards, 2 touchdowns.
And he had 2 rushing attempts.
Yeah,
for -1.
Yeah. Rex Burkhead, the leading ball carrier.
Yeah.
Why?
This is a very Patriot move here. Rex Burkhead, the leading ball carrier. Philip Dorsett was second in yards. Sony Michel had 9 carries for 11 yards.
And
that
one
is
touchdown.
atrocious. Yeah, and a touchdown. The Rex Burkhead, don't worry about him. This is just a game plan thing that Bill Belichick does. He is a mastermind, and you can't question his tactics because it wins games. But it sucks for fantasy when he decides that your awesome player is just not getting the ball this game.
Yeah, you say don't worry about him, and I know what you mean, but I just want to be clear here. Worry about this backfield and whether or not you're going to start a player from it. I'm not. I'm officially done with Sony Michel.
I'm not all the way out on him.
I am all the way out on Sony Michel until people like Rex Burkhead stop getting more carries than him. But
well, next week, there'll be a new running back.
Yeah,
it may be neither one of them.
Yeah, receiving, it's a couple things to talk about here. Julian Edelman, 7 receptions for 62 yards and a touchdown, but he left the game injured. Reports are good. He might not miss time, but I think what's important to note is the Patriots have no reason to rush him back. So if they want to give him a week to recover, they can totally do that, and they're totally fine. They'll probably beat the Bills, no problem. Don't drop Julian Edelman. If you have him, just hold on to him. If he's playing, I would start him. Josh Gordon, another good day, 6 receptions for 83 yards. We're not seeing the Josh Gordon numbers from when he was exploding, but Josh Gordon is still very good. And if Julian Edelman's out, I like Josh Gordon even more.
Oh, yeah, I'm starting him either way.
Yeah. Philip Dorsett, though, this is something that's pretty interesting. Is week 1, it was a fluke, right? Philip Dorsett is very good right now. Philip Dorsett, I think, should definitely be owned.
Yeah,
possibly started.
Oh, I'm not starting him.
If Julian Edelman's not playing, I'm starting Philip Dorsett.
I understand that. I'm probably not, but I could understand it. I could see it. I wouldn't be upset with you if you did it. But yeah, I personally, I'm not that in on him yet.
Fair enough. Okay, let's move on here. Let's go on to the Falcons and Colts. Another really good game, 24-27. Colts win this one. You know, we'll start with the Colts. I think that everybody, including you and I, thought it's over when Andrew Luck retired. The Colts are going to go back into rebuild mode, and they're done.
Oh, but yeah, everyone. We were talking about we're out on Marlon Mack. We're out on T.Y. Hilton. We're out on Eric Ebron. I'm still out on Eric Ebron, by the way.
T.Y. Hilton right now is one of the best wide receivers in the league, fantasy-wise and just NFL receiver-wise. He's been fantastic.
Oh, speaking of, we did not cover this in the news, but he's also injured.
He is injured, but they're saying he might not miss time.
Yeah.
I hope he doesn't.
Me too. I just love what's happening there. This great for Jacoby Brissett, to see him be able to perform at this level, and he's doing great.
Yeah, fantasy relevant. Marlon Mack also has been a bell cow back. He's quickly becoming one of the only running backs in the league where you know what you're getting as it's a bell cow back. It's Leonard Fournette. It's Marlon Mack. It's Le'Veon Bell. Those guys are getting the ball every single time.
Nick Chubb,
yeah. If you have Marlon Mack, you're happy with Marlon Mack. Keep starting Marlon Mack. On the Falcons side of the ball, Matt Ryan threw another interception, but he made it up with 3 touchdowns, 300 yards. Matt Ryan's my fantasy quarterback this year. I've been a little worried about it all year, but he seems to come out okay each week, so I'm going to keep riding Matt Ryan. Devontae Freeman, finally a game where he was the ball carrier with 16 carries for 88 yards.
Yeah, so I think part of that was Ito Smith got injured in this game. He got a concussion on his first carry of the game. So he had 1 carry for 0 yards, and then he was out for the rest of the game. So I think that forced Freeman to have to be that bell cow back, and it went good for him.
Yeah. I like Devontae Freeman, especially if Ito Smith is hurt. But we just got to wait and see if Ito Smith is going to clear that concussion protocol. Julio Jones, I think it's fair to say Julio Jones is an elite top 3 wide receiver in the NFL. There's no doubt about it, right? There's always been
paycheck says so.
Yeah, there's always been that stupid Julio Jones doesn't score touchdowns thing. He's scored a touchdown in every game so far. He's scored a touchdown in the last 7 games. So Julio Jones is extremely good. He was my number 1 wide receiver going into the
the biggest takeaway I think though from here was Austin Hooper, 6 receptions, 66 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He had a great week with Matt Ryan steadily getting better as the season goes. I think he's a good pickup for a tight end. So if you're one of those Vance McDonald owners or Njoku owners, that's someone you want to look at.
I love that call. I love that call.
Calvin Ridley, super disappointing this week though.
I think it's just one of those weeks that you can expect from these speedy wide receivers. It's gonna happen. Yeah. I wouldn't read into it too much.
Yeah, it's just sad. It's sad to see. You would hope he'd have a little bit more, but he had 1 reception for 6 yards. Disappointing, but yeah, I'm like you said, this is something that you can expect from that type of wide receiver.
Yeah. Let's move on here to the Raiders and the Vikings. Vikings won this pretty handedly, 34-14. Derek Carr got brought back down to ground level where he belongs. 242 yards, 2 touchdowns, and interception. That's kind of what I thought his upside really was. Josh Jacobs, not a great day, man. 10 carries for 44 yards, really disappointing.
Which, I mean, his average wasn't bad. You just wish that he would have had a little bit more yards and that they would have kept feeding him the ball, but due to game script, they couldn't.
Yeah, I don't like seeing Andre Washington getting 6 carries. I don't really know what they're thinking, right? They have a really good running back in Josh Jacobs.
I think that might be in part due to him coming back from that injured groin injury, them just trying to not have him carry too much of a load and risk re-injury.
Yes. The thing I really want to talk about, which I know you're hyped about, and that's Darren Waller. This man is real. He is so real. 13 receptions for 134 yards. It's a miracle he didn't score a touchdown.
Yeah.
I can't believe it.
Right. He basically went across the field and halfway back without scoring.
Yeah, that's crazy. Darren Waller, amazing tight end start going forward. Right now he's up there. I mean, it's like Travis Kelce, and then it's like Darren Waller and Mark Andrews as of right now on like must starts. I like both of those guys more than Zach Ertz.
What about Kittle?
George Kittle's probably just above them.
Yeah, that's how I see it.
But just barely,
I just want to make sure my fandom wasn't getting the best of me.
Probably just above them. But the big thing here is Mark Andrews and Darren Waller went undrafted, whereas George Kittle was like a 3rd, 4th, 5th round pick.
Oh, yeah, which is exactly why we talk about avoiding those tight ends early, because you could find tight ends on the waiver wire who are going to do that for you.
Absolutely. Let's jump to the Vikings here. So we're trying to speed this up a little bit.
Yeah, we always get sidetracked. Sorry, guys.
Kirk Cousins, this is going to be the norm for him going forward, it appears. 15 for 21, 174 yards and a touchdown. They don't need him to throw the ball 30 times. They don't, because
Dalvin Cook and Alexander Madison.
Yes.
16 carries Dalvin Cook, 12 carries for Alexander Madison. I cannot talk. This backfield is a must own. You have 110 yards from Dalvin Cook and a touchdown, 58 yards and a touchdown from Alexander Madison. You should own out. Alexander Madison is one of the few backup running backs that you should own, even if you don't have the starting running back.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think part of the reason he got as much work as he did was it was kind of a blowout, but he is extremely talented. Don't get me wrong. He is very, very good. And Dalvin Cook is the best running back in the NFL right now. Right now, he is.
I'm so happy. I remember telling you I thought he had potential to be a top 5 running back before the season started, and you're worried about his injuries, which is understandable.
Yeah.
But I was like, I just have faith in him this year, and I'm just so happy right now. Just please don't get injured down the road.
I don't want him to get injured at all, man. I love seeing it. The receiving here for the Vikings, Adam Thielen, 3 for 55 and a touchdown.
Now,
Again,
I was just talking about this with someone. There's got to be a regression for Adam Thielen in the touchdown department. There's no way he could continue these touchdowns with such low targets and yards.
well, that's okay because they're just gonna give it to him on the 1 yard line to give him a touchdown, like they did this game.
Yeah,
A
crazy.
rushing touchdown for 1 yard. So
Yeah, he had 2 touchdowns, 1 rushing, 1 receiving.
Stephon Diggs, I'm officially selling Stephon Diggs. It's just I think with the such low volume in the passing game, there's no room for 2 receivers here.
Yeah.
And it's obvious that Adam Thielen is the number 1 receiver.
Yeah, and it's rough because selling him right now is you're not going to get a lot for him, but
No, you're not.
you're going to get a lot less if you wait.
Yep. Let's move on here to the Ravens and the Chiefs. This was our game of the week. It turned out to be a very good game. I think it went the way that we probably thought it would, with the Chiefs winning 33-28. We'll start with the Ravens, though. Lamar Jackson, another great day for Lamar Jackson. 22 for 267, rushed the ball 8 times for 45 yards and a touchdown. If you started Lamar Jackson, you're probably happy with Lamar Jackson. Mark Ingram, 16 carries for 103 yards and 3 touchdowns. Mark Ingram is like the 3rd or 4th best running back in fantasy so far. It's pretty wild, man. I have him in a dynasty league. I'm starting him every week. Receiving. Go ahead.
With the Ravens too. So a big talking point I've heard from a lot of fantasy experts is with Lamar Jackson that, these first 3 weeks, he's going to do great because he's going against these weak defenses. And then week 4, you want to sell him before that week. I don't agree with them. He's got a solid base with his rushing. And then on top of that, the Browns, they're not the team everyone thought they were. They have not been good. He's going to do just fine against the Browns. Continue to start him, hold on to him. You're not going to be disappointed.
And just a caveat off of that, because I totally agree with you. The reason we started Tyrod Taylor in fantasy for 2-3 years so consistently was the rushing. And Lamar Jackson is Tyrod Taylor, but better, much better, right?
Tyrod Taylor, but he can throw the ball.
Right. He's Tyrod Taylor's floor. Like Tyrod Taylor's ceiling is Lamar Jackson's floor. Okay, so do not get rid of Lamar Jackson. Don't be silly. Keep starting Lamar Jackson. Chiefs side of the ball, Patrick Mahomes did Patrick Mahomes things. He's the best quarterback in the league. There's no doubt about it.
I know. I feel stupid when us and every other fantasy expert out there were talking about this, how we're going to see a regression from him this year because there's no way he could do it 2 years in a row. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, we look like idiots.
Yep.
He's making the NFL look like idiots. It's incredible. Rushing, my start of the week this week was LaShawn McCoy. It panned out as well. Justin and I were batting for 1,000 right now. LaShawn McCoy only had 8 carries for 54 yards, but he did have a touchdown, 6.8 yards per carry. He also had 3 receptions for 26 yards and a touchdown. So if you started LaShawn McCoy, even though he's banged up a little bit, you were happy with it. Receiving, you were right. You nailed it, Justin. Mecole Hardman was the start to have, but all the other guys were just fine too. So, it's just, I think Mecole's going to be the guy going forward, but it could be Sammy Watkins. It could be Demarcus Robinson any week. I think they should all be owned.
And I think once Tyreek comes back, that whole pecking order gets rearranged.
Yeah, definitely. So get what you can out of it right now. I like Mecole the most. He's got that big play potential, and that there's going to be a big play with this team every week. Getting
into the Bronco Green Bay game, we got Philip Lindsay was the leading rusher there. Both these running backs had a bunch of carries. So it's hard to say which one, it's still hard to say which one's going to be the lead back there, just because it like 21 to 15 carries. Philip Lindsay got 2 touchdowns though, and 81 yards. So he had the better night.
Yeah, Philip Lindsay is actually my start of the week for next week, which we'll get into, but Philip Lindsay is my start of the week.
And then on the receiving side, Cortland Sutton was the only like fantasy relevant.
Yeah, for sure. The Broncos offense is terrible.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Yeah. The Packers though, Aaron Rodgers, he has not looked great.
Yeah.
I was talking to someone about this too. Aaron Rodgers, I believe he's trying to give the new head coach a chance at play calling and like to call the shots and try and fit his schemes and stuff like that. And I can't wait for Aaron Rodgers to just get frustrated with that and just be like, all right, I got this.
How long do you wait though?
The problem is they're winning.
Yeah. Aaron Rodgers for me is no longer an auto start. I think that there's players that I can pick up on waiver wire right now that I would start over Aaron Rodgers based on matchup.
I agree with you, but I'm not dropping him. I'm going to trade him and get what I can for him, and then I'll pick up a quarterback off the waiver wire.
Without roster construction, would you start Daniel Jones against Washington this week over Aaron Rodgers against Philly?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Oh, ow.
Right?
That hurt.
Yeah.
But the bigger news here is Jamal Williams had more carries and yards than Aaron Jones. What the heck is happening there?
I don't know, man. I thought Aaron Jones was free.
Right.
He did get the goal line carries, which
he got 2 touchdowns, which saved
God.
his night. Yeah.
But,
and my fantasy team.
Yeah. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, wide receiver. Man, I think he's the one.
Yep,
right?
I'm sold now.
I think
we
he's the
officially have a viable receiver there outside of Devontae Adams,
who I fully expect to get out of his funk. Devontae Adams will be fine long term.
Yeah, Devontae Adams doesn't have a funk. That's Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, Aaron Rodgers is the one in the funk in the offense. Yeah, so I don't blame that on Adams at all. Like you said, I expect a rebound in his stats or, a lack of funk.
Definitely. Never have a lack of funk, by the way.
I kind of want Devontae Adams to have some funk,
Yeah.
Get down with it.
Okay. Moving on here to the Panthers and the Cardinals. Panthers won this game 38-20 with Kyle Allen leading the way, man. 261 yards for 4 touchdowns. That was a spot start for you and me. I texted you and I said, "Hey man, I think I'm gonna pick up Kyle Allen, start him over Trubisky." You were down. Worked out for us. We won in that league, and he was our second quarterback. So that was pretty awesome. He's starting again next week. And I think we'll probably start him again in that 2 quarterback league. So Christian McCaffrey, awesome. Keep starting him. All you need to know. Greg Olsen, 6 receptions for 75 yards and 2 touchdowns. I think that what this tells me is start tight ends that are playing the Cardinals, which is Will Disley next week for Seattle. So if Will Disley's probably available in your league, and he's had a good season so far, and he's going to play the worst tight end defense in the league. So I would start him.
Yeah.
Curtis Samuel, 5 receptions for 53 and a touchdown. DJ Moore had 1 big one for 52 yards and a touchdown. I mean, I don't know which wide receiver I want with Kyle Allen, but I do know that Greg Olsen's probably a pretty good start going forward at tight end. For the Cardinals, Kyler Murray still hasn't been that guy yet. I will say he did have 8 rushes for 69 yards, which kind of saved his day a little bit. He had 2 touchdowns passing, 2 interceptions. I don't know. I just don't know about Kyler Murray yet, if he's the big NFL hotness that he was supposed to be. But
I'm not sold on it.
It's his first season. I'm not going to sell the guy down the river just yet.
No, I don't think he's not like he won't have a career, but he's not what everyone was hyping him to be.
Especially with all these new guys coming in from injuries and performing really well. You don't need to be starting Kyler Murray. David Johnson, 11 for 37, 6 receptions for 28 and a touchdown. David Johnson is quietly one of the most consistent fantasy scorers right now. Not blowing up, not throwing up duds. I think you're happy if you have David Johnson.
And
I expect a big game coming from him soon.
yeah, he fell back a little bit in some drafts too. So if you're able to get him a little bit later in the first round or something, then I'm sure you're happy with him.
Yeah. Christian Kirk, 10 for 59. He's definitely becoming that number one target, but Larry Fitzgerald finds the end zone again. Larry Fitzgerald is still a starter for me. Still a starter till further notice.
Yeah. He keeps on finding more time in that clock.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hop into this Giants Tampa Bay game.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, so we got Daniel Jones first game. I was super excited to see what he did, like what he could do. I wasn't sold on like starting him. Yeah. I liked him. I liked the possibility. I told you keep an eye on him. See if he established like a wide receiver who he targeted, which he did. Well, he did, and he continued targeting Evan Ingram, which is great. Yeah. So Sterling Shepard had 7 targets, Evan Ingram 6, both of them over 100 yards and a touchdown. That's awesome. If I'm in a deeper league, I'm grabbing Sterling Shepard and I'm going to throw him on my bench. And if I see this 2 weeks in a row, I'm going to start him the following week.
Yeah, I think, like you said, Evan Ingram, that's fantastic. If you were an owner of him, this is exactly what you wanted to see with this transition. Wayne Gallman, we already talked about him.
We talked about the whole Saquon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's look at the Bucs here.
Real quick though, Sterling Shepard also had 2 rushing attempts for 21 yards.
Yeah, they like to use him like that a little bit, so it's a little bonus for you. Jameis Winston, 380 for 3 and an interception. This is the volatile game you play with Jameis Winston. Do you want to risk it? I don't know. I don't. So I'll go I'll start somebody else. I'll start Daniel Jones next week instead of Jameis Winston. Rushing the ball, Ronald Jones, Peyton Barber, almost the exact same amount of carries. Ronald Jones far more efficient. I still don't want to start either of these running backs, period.
Perry.
Yes, sir.
Real quick, who are you starting, Winston or Mason Rudolph?
Mason Rudolph.
Oh.
Yes, I'm starting Mason Rudolph.
I'm going Winston in that one.
No, I'm starting Mason Rudolph for sure.
Okay, go ahead, continue. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. Mike Evans. Here we go, guys. We told you, don't give up on Mike Evans. I know that Chris Godwin could end up being the number 1 receiver, but Mike Evans came in and put his fist down on the table and said, not yet, little boy, not yet. 8 receptions for 190 yards and 3 touchdowns. I think questions were answered on that day.
Chris Godwin said, yes, sir. And he sat down and had 3 receptions for 40 yards.
Yeah. I still like Chris Godwin going forward. Still starting him for sure. But Mike Evans put his fist down.
How about this, though? O.J. Howard finally on the scoreboard.
Yeah, finally showed up.
Yeah, 3 receptions for 66 yards.
Still do not regret dropping him.
Yeah.
All right.
Regret picking him up.
Saints and Seahawks. Saints win this 133-27. Kind of a surprise. I think a lot of people thought the Seahawks might win this one.
Alvin Kamara is like a greased pig out there on that field with a bunch of 8-year-olds chasing him. It is ridiculous.
Yeah,
he just runs through tackles, bounces off of them, just slides right through their arms. It's amazing. It's like you can't. It's watching Madden.
It's like a greased pig.
Yeah.
I love it. Alvin Kamara, amazing. Possibly the best running back in the league, right up there with Dalvin Cook so far. But he does it differently, right? He's catching the ball. So I love that. You got that safe baseline with all his receptions in a PPR league.
And Latavius Murray, we told you time to drop him like a week and a half ago. Hopefully you did.
I own Latavius in our league because I own Alvin Kamara, and it's really hard holding a roster spot. But that's a personal decision right there. Teddy Bridgewater is a little bit different than what we expected. We thought Taysom Hill would get a lot more work. He didn't, right? It was a lot of the same as Drew Brees, but Teddy Bridgewater is just not as good as Drew Brees. But he was still 177 yards, 2 touchdowns.
They game planned for it.
Did not turn the ball over. That's all they were asking out of Teddy Bridgewater.
And Taysom Hill did not throw the ball once.
No, he did not. They do not want him throwing the ball, apparently.
I don't think he knows how.
Michael Thomas, 5 for 54 and a touchdown. The touchdown saved him. But that kind of regression, that step back, is kind of what we thought we'd see with Drew Brees out. And I think we're going to see it going forward until Drew Brees is back. So
yeah, because he's that deep threat receiver, and Teddy Bridgewater does not like to throw the ball downfield because they don't want him to turn the ball over.
Exactly. Seahawks, the reason they lost this game was because Russell Wilson had to throw the ball 50 times. Threw it 50 times, 406 yards, 2 touchdowns. He also rushed it 7 times for 51 yards and 2 touchdowns.
That's great for your fantasy team.
We are back to the days of the Seahawks being 8-8, but Russell Wilson being the number 1 fantasy quarterback because he's trying to do everything. They cannot win when they do it this way, but you win if you start Russell Wilson and they do it this way. So for fantasy,
Carson's super disappointing.
Man, if you can't stop fumbling, I don't know what we're gonna do.
Pete Carroll's like you said before, he's all about the players. He already said that he's got faith in him moving forward, so he's still going to be out there getting the ball. Yeah. That if you have him, I'm okay starting him still, but you just hope to see more. I think the Saints have a good defense, so I mean that's part of it, but you want to see more from him.
Receiving, Tyler Lockett we're going to start a new thing, Justin. Our jinx of the week, okay? We're going to call it before it happens, but our jinx of the week was Tyler Lockett. You and I both told each other he's terrible, don't start him, not in on Tyler Lockett. 11 receptions for 154 yards.
To be fair, we said after we finished saying that, we're like, that being said, he's the exact type of player that will blow up just to prove you wrong.
Yeah, and he did. He proved me wrong. Yeah. DK Metcalf, pretty pedestrian night. 2 for 67. Not too worried about it. I think he'll be okay going forward.
Yeah, and then we got Will Disley. I think you already covered that.
Yep. Love Will Disley. Love Will Disley going forward. Why don't you jump into the Texans Chargers?
Ooh, yeah. So I'm gonna go to the Chargers side of the ball first. So Phillip Rivers, 2 touchdowns, 300 yards, great game for him. You could start him in a streaming spot if you need him to. Austin Eckler, not the numbers you've been seeing from him. He had 9 carries for 36 yards. Justin Jackson, 5 carries, 26 yards. Not a great rushing game in this one. But Keenan Allen, I love this guy. We've both talked about this. Like, he is great this season. He could be the number 1 wide receiver at the end of this year.
Not crazy.
Yeah, he has 13 receptions, 183 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah. He is the number 1 target on that team, and he's flexing it, man. Keenan Allen, I love him. Didn't get any shares of him this year, and I'm bummed out about that.
I have a ton, and I'm super excited. So also, though, and related to that, I've heard people talk about, like, there's no way he could continue these numbers.
I disagree.
I disagree with that. Like, he's going to continue these numbers.
I don't think he's going to continue the 183 yards.
Yeah. But I'm not saying these exact numbers.
between 9 and 15 receptions is not crazy. Between 1 and 2 touchdowns isn't crazy. This guy, he's good, and Phillip Rivers is good, and Phillip Rivers loves him.
Yeah, Phillip Rivers, I don't think he even knows he has other wide receivers.
He doesn't, actually. They run a 1 wide receiver set.
And the defense can't stop it. Oh yeah, there was another team playing, so let me get to that. Deshaun Watson.
This team won, by the way.
Yeah, they actually won. But Deshaun Watson had an even better game. Obviously, he's owned on someone's team, so you're not going to pick him up and stream him. Carlos Hyde, 10 carries for 19 yards. Oh, like no, there was, like I said, there's no rushing in this game. It was all throwing the ball. Yeah. Kenny Stills had 4 receptions for 89 yards for leading the team in receptions and yards, but Jordan Atkins led the team in touchdowns with 2. I'm sorry. Kenny Stills didn't lead in receptions, just yards. DeAndre Hopkins led in receptions with 6, which you expect. Only 67 yards. You're fine there. Nothing to worry about with DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, don't freak out on DeAndre Hopkins.
And are you going for any of these other wide receivers here on this team?
No, I'm not.
Yeah,
I said that last week. I'm sticking with it.
Yeah, Kenny Stills had 4 receptions, 89 yards. I'm still out on him because next week that could be Kiki or whoever else. Yeah, Will Fuller, Atkins. Yeah,
definitely. Let's jump into the Steelers. 49ers here. You and I are both excited about this game. I was hoping it'd be even more of a blowout, but it wasn't really. The 49ers, man, looked very good. I like them.
So the 49ers defense is amazing.
It's good.
They turned the ball over 4 times on their first 4 drives.
Yeah, they're good. They're real.
And the Steelers didn't score a touchdown during that time.
Yeah. Let's talk about the rest of the Niners here. Jimmy Garoppolo, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, 277 yards. Never should have been paid as much money as he was, but hey, man, the defense is that good, then fine.
In his defense, neither one of those interceptions were his fault. They were both tipped by the receiver to a defender.
Yeah, and in my defense, he should have never been paid that much money.
and in fantasy players' defense, you shouldn't have started him.
No, you shouldn't. And you shouldn't next week either.
No. Or any week after that.
Yeah. Rushing the ball, Raheem Mostert was the most efficient at 12 carries for 79 yards. Matt Breida, 14 carries for 68 yards. And Jeffrey Wilson came in and took the 2 touchdowns that everybody else worked for. So it's a bummer. I don't know which one to start out of those 3, to be completely honest with you. I like Raheem Mostert the most if I had a gun to my head and I got told who to start.
No, don't. Because they have a bye week this week, and then following their bye week, they have Tevin Coleman back.
There you go. Yeah. So
just I'm staying away from all their running backs for
sell one of the 2 running backs if you have them. Try that.
Oh yeah, if you can, absolutely.
Yeah. Best wide receiver on this team is a tight end, George Kittle. I think we know that. Deebo Samuels shows flashes. Dante Pettis caught a touchdown.
I know. I love Deebo Samuels, though.
Yeah.
I really like him. I think he's got a future. I picked him up in a league, and I actually started him. I forgot who I started him over. It was a deeper league, and someone told me I was crazy for starting him. He did not do good, but I forgot who I started him over, but he did slightly better than the guy I started him over.
Let's look at the Steelers here. Mason Rudolph, his first game starting over Ben Roethlisberger, did well. 174 yards, 2 touchdowns, interception. Obviously not amazing, didn't carry the team, but I think it'll get better going forward. You and I just mentioned that the Niners have a very good defense. So James Conner, 13 for 43. I'm selling James Conner. I'm done with James Conner. I'm done chasing last year's numbers.
Yeah, and especially with Big Ben out, he's not going to produce. It's just not going to happen. And I think you're going to see that hurt Juju in the future as well as with other wide receivers. Like it just across the board, you're going to see regression.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes next week. I don't want to make any like this is what it's going to be going forward statements, except I don't believe in James Conner, but whatever. I'll die on that soapbox. Why don't you jump into the next one?
I will say that I'm trying to sell some of these players. just due to that. I think Mason Rudolph, like watching him play, he didn't look good. It was a tough defense, but he did not look good.
Yeah, I'm not quite as low on him as you are, but I mean, I'm not starting him, so there's no point in talking about it.
Yeah, I just think it hurts the other players. All right, but next game, Rams Browns. So on the Rams side of the ball, you got Todd Gurley, 14 carries for 43 yards. Not good.
Yeah. Also done with Todd Gurley. Here we go, guys.
Yep. I've been lower on him than a lot of people since the beginning of the season. He started off decent. Yeah. Oh, not week 1, but after week 1, the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm completely out on him now. Get away from him.
I'd start him as an RB2 in a deep league, maybe an RB3. But yeah, I'm pretty much in the same boat. I didn't draft him anywhere, so I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, if you can sell him, I'm selling him, trying to get someone. Just don't get James Conner for him.
Yeah.
All right, so on the receiving end, though, you got Brandon Cooks, the one who we both said would be the wide receiver 3. 8 receptions, 112 yards. But then Cooper Kupp just, 11 receptions, 102 yards, so 10 less yards, and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, and Robert Woods 3 for 40, right? You and I have talked about it before. We don't know. We can't tell you guys. I want to tell you. I want to give you an answer.
I'm still sold on Cooper Kupp. Like they love him. Like he had the most receptions. He didn't quite have as much yards as Brandon Cooks, but he had the 2 touchdowns. Yeah. And that's what I see from him. Because he's bigger than the other 2 wide receivers, so he gets a lot more of those end zone passes when they get down there.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna continue starting him. So I don't know what to do with the other 2, or if you have 2 of them, I don't know. How do you choose? You know what I mean? So for the Browns, Baker Mayfield, man, this is why I didn't want to put in a 5th round pick on Baker Mayfield. 195 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Baker Mayfield is overrated. You can quote me on it. Baker Mayfield is overrated. Based on what we've seen this season, there is no reason to be starting him in fantasy football.
The Browns are bad.
The Browns are bad, man. Nick Chubb is 1B on best players on that team, with Odell Beckham being 1A. Nick Chubb, keep starting him. He's doing what he's supposed to do. 23 carries for 96 yards. You're happy about that.
So I agree with you if we're looking at talent, but if we're looking at fantasy production, I want Nick Chubb more than I want Odell Beckham.
Yeah, I mean, Odell Beckham blew up last week. This week, 6 for 56. You're not happy about it. But you're right. With Baker throwing the ball, I don't know. He did have Eli throwing the ball for a long time, but Eli did it for a lot longer. So,
man, I hate to see gloat about players doing bad, unless your name's TJ Yeldon. But the Browns, like everyone was talking on the offseason about how, oh man, Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham, Njoku, they're all going to be these huge players this season. And I was like, I just don't see Baker Mayfield being able to feed that many targets and make them relevant.
Yeah.
Baker Mayfield was like, oh, I'll do you one better and I'll feed none of them.
You said it week 1 that they wouldn't make the playoffs, and I think you might be right. So let's move on here. Last game, which is the Monday night game. That was the Bears and the team in Washington. The Bears defense is insane. We'll start with the team in Washington. That
wasn't a high school team they were playing?
No. We'll start with the team in Washington. Case Keenum, 332 yards. He continues to throw for a ton of yards, 2 touchdowns, but 3 interceptions. That was the story of the night, man. The Bears' offense is terrible. It is a dumpster fire. They do not know what they're doing on offense, but that's okay because the defense will score for them. They don't need to score. The rushing, I told you, do not start Adrian Peterson. Do not start him that week. 12 carries for 37 yards. That's it. That's why you did not start him. Going forward, I kind of like him a little bit. All right. He's obviously going to get the bulk of the carries, but I don't know. I don't want to be on the Washington running back boat. Catching the ball, though, Terry McLaurin. I love Terry McLaurin. How do you feel about Terry?
Oh, I love McLovin.
Yeah. Love Terry McLaurin. He's real.
I'm McLovin him.
He's a real talent. It's not a one-game blow-up. It is an every week sort of thing. He has the talent. And when Haskins comes in to start, they played in college together. So I think it's only going to get better, to be completely honest with you. The Bears, Mitch Trubisky, he did throw 3 touchdowns. Finally, they went all to Taylor Gabriel, who then got hurt. I don't think Taylor Gabriel's somebody you need to go out and get, though, or make a big deal about. I think Allen Robinson is still the best receiver on the team. Dave Montgomery is still the best running back on the team that doesn't get enough work. Cordero Patterson is getting carries for some reason. These guys have no idea what they're doing. The play calling in Chicago is terrible, but the defense carries them. So,
and you don't need good play calling when you're playing Washington.
No kidding. And that rounds out the week, Justin.
Yeah, you want to get into your start of the week?
I thought I already did that. We're doing start of the weeks on Friday, aren't we?
Oh, we could do that. Yeah, I thought you said that you were going to do it at the end.
Oh no, I'll talk about that on Friday.
Okay, let's do a quick preview of the Thursday game though.
Yeah, definitely. Thursday night, Eagles Packers.
Yeah, Alshon should be in. I'm expecting him to play, which, like you said, that's gonna hurt the other wide receivers there for fantasy relevance. You can expect Miles Sanders to continue what he's been doing. The Green Bay Packers have a tough defense.
Yeah.
That's how they've been winning their games despite like the not such massive offense.
I'm not super high on any Philadelphia Eagles offensive player.
Miles Sanders, I'm good with.
I think you have to start some, right? Like, I'm not saying you sit all of them. I'm just not expecting giant numbers out of any of them this week.
No, I'm good with Miles Sanders. I mean, if you drafted Zach Ertz, you're playing Zach Ertz.
Yep. Packers, I expect to see Aaron Jones. I expect to see Aaron Rodgers take a step forward this week and come back closer to where he's supposed to be, just because this Philadelphia Eagles defense is not very good, and I think he's going to pick the secondary apart a little bit. That means I like Devontae Adams. I kind of like Marquez Valdes-Scantling. I think if you're going to start another one, it's him. And I like Aaron Jones.
I what about Jimmy Graham?
Oh man, I want to like Jimmy Graham.
I want
to.
I'm not starting Jimmy Graham this week.
I'm saying Jimmy Graham scores a touchdown this week.
Okay, I am not on that train.
I'm saying he scores a touchdown, but it's the only catch he has.
I want that to happen.
Yeah. There's my guarantee of the week.
Yeah, so that covers the up until our next episode, which will be on Friday.
Yes. Everybody get ready for it.
I'm gonna make sure I got some hot takes prepared beforehand, so that way when I am on the painkillers, I don't get out of control with them.
I might let you just sail on that a little bit. Just let you ride. See what you come up with.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh God. Yeah, you're gonna have to let all the listeners out there know if I get too far overboard.
Yeah. Hey, I feel like I did okay tonight on cough medicine, so.
Yeah, Perry over there on that lean.
Yeah, okay. You guys have a good night. Three, two, one, blast off.